My cat's sitting on my notes. Excuse me. Okay. Hi everyone. So I haven't been making videos for a hot second, except for channeled soul songs. And this video today is part 2 of the womb walker's role in the Alkhemia path. So I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about my own path that weaves in with the Alkhemia project that Matías De Stefano is doing right now, although it's not affiliated with that. I'm going to go over what it is, a little bit about what I've put out there so far that hasn't been through explainer YouTube videos, and an invitation into the field, and a little bit more details about how this all goes together. So if you're new here, I'm Leanna. I'm an intuitive energy worker, channeler, guide, polysophian. So I'm many things. But today we're going to talk about the return of the Sistra, which is a path of alchemical elemental embodiment across the grid. So if you watched my previous video, which was, I think, the womb walker's role in Matías De Stefano's Alkhemia path, this is the follow-up to that. And I haven't been doing conversational or explainer YouTube videos since before the new year. One, because I got really sick. At the new year, I lost my voice. And then when my voice came back from all the coughing and stuff, I got an eye bleed. And so I have done some channeled soul song journeys, but I haven't done a lot of explaining. And another reason is because I was putting out transmissions for about the past month about the return of the Sistra, which is the womb walker's path, on my Substack. And I felt it was intended to be released in a way where people could feel it, could feel if it was their path as much as it was mine, instead of identifying it with me. So those Substack posts, there are 6 transmissions, plus an overview of the elements, which is what I'm calling informally the mother matrix of alchemy, but it's also a substrate spiral of the natural elements, on my Substack. And that goes over the path, the background, the roles, the map, the sound, and the journey itself. But the return of the Sistra. So what is a Sistra? When I was asking myself, I was in the car, riding in the car, it was around Thanksgiving, and I was asking myself, well, does this path want a name? And I heard cistern, saw a sistrum, which is an Egyptian rattle, and from that heard things like sisterhood and other words. So on Substack, I go into the cistern's role in alchemy and the Sistra. So Sistra is the plural for the Egyptian rattle, the sistrum, which has other names in Egyptian history: Shesheshet, Sekhem, and other things. It's known for being used in the temples of Hathor, the temples of Isis, and the temples of Bastet in processional rituals. It is an instrument that is serpentine in nature, is a closed loop omega structure, is shape is reminiscent, inspired by the Ankh, the key of life. It's used in rituals to celebrate joy and the body and the elements. because its Egyptian name is the sound of the wind. So it makes the elements heard, seen, and in flow. It's used in awakening rituals. I'll give my cat a second to get settled. I know. Okay. But the word I found as I was working with it and inquiring about other things is resonant with sisterhood, with sisters, with those who remember the womb field, how to co-regulate with the earth, who remember temple keeping as timekeeping, and the field of memory. And then one day I was inquiring separately within myself about harmonic roles in the time period of Atlantis. And I don't know if it is phonetically resonant with the actual Atlantean word. But I was asking myself, well, what would they have called like a female partner or a wife that we call wife today? Because personally, I think the frequency of the word wife needs to be reclaimed, restored, and redefined, as well as husband. And I heard Sistra. And I asked about the other counterpart, which you could say masculine, but really it's about how they move and work with energy and their roles in the field. And I heard stellium or style. And so a sistra in this context as a harmonic role is someone who moves the depths of the cistern into the field of becoming. Now, the cistern in this context is the below. It is the womb of earth, the womb waters that have been held in stillness, waiting to rise back up. And the style or stellium is what brings energy, stellar consciousness down for clarity, for activation, for stabilization. So as a Sistra, if you join any of these journeys or the communities that's going to come from them, our role is to awaken the underbelly of Earth's field, what was left in silence and stillness pre-fracture. So we're awakening the embodiment expression nodes, which I talk about the difference between stellium nodes and embodiment nodes on my Substack, through places of water or the crystalline grids into Earth's field of being and body. So these are the memory codes of origin. And I do that through vocal sound channeling, singing, origin harmonics of the grid point. Now, other people who join the journey may do that as well in the same way, or it could be movement, it could be playing an instrument, it could be dance. And while I call this the womb walker's path, which it is, the womb is the field of deep transformation, it's the crucible. And the womb of the female body, of those who carry uteruses, and the generative field of a woman have a direct connection with the womb of Earth as a portal, that which bridges spirit and ether into form. So there is a natural correspondence within our bodies in order to do this work, but we're not the only ones who hold this field, who hold the field of the Sistra. Because we need support, we need styles, and we need those who anchor in the solar stellar consciousness, which is a big part of what Matías De Stefano's path, Alkhemia, does. So while this path is not affiliated with his path, they hold the same field. They hold a shared purpose. And there will be others who I know who are more transmitters and receivers and amplifiers, who may be called to this path, who are not necessarily a womb walker. Now, just a little bit more about how this weaves with the Alkhemia path, because I've known for a very long time before the full blueprint of this path was outlined. And I knew my big thing would have grid working. Well, one of my big things. I'm worried my biggest thing will be having children, but but my big thing, one of my big things, would involve grid work. I knew that there would be people who deeply connect and deeply align with the YoSoy path and Matías De Stefano's work, who would find a missing harmonic in my work. So that's another reason I am honest about how these interweave. One, because we're unifying a field. Two, I want the right people to understand that it's not one or the other. And so, for an example, there's a free initiation for the return of the Sistra on February 13th, where I'll be channeling through the origin harmonics of the Temple of Philae and Aswan, and the Egyptian deities Isis, Neith, Nephthys. And those deities are all mothers in different ways. They're sisters. And they're all weavers. And in some ways, caretakers of the tree of life. Those who nourish the roots of the tree of life. It will be mirrored by Artemis, Hera, and Athena, Freya, Frigga, and Sif. Also holding that field of the tree of life, of mothers and weavers, and elemental wisdom of creation. Now this is on February 13th. I intuitively received the dates and the time for this without giving it too much thought and just going with what my intuition said. And then I realized later that might be around the time that Matías's first journey, the Negredo journey, is finishing in Egypt. And that's not a coincidence. So through investigating that a little bit more, and I mentioned in my first video that it originally felt like the first lunar journey in Egypt, the first womb walker's journey in Egypt, was supposed to be around the same time. And that was true, it just wasn't humanly possible. So that adjusted. And that's because the Negredo journey, the Alkhemia journey, is going from mind, soul to body. It is moving through the shadows to bring more clarity. So it's activating, clearing, it's bringing down, how I see it, is bringing down the style or the stellium of solar stellar consciousness. It is preparing the field to hold more coherence, but it's not quite going down to the root womb axis, to the cisterns of memory, to the origin harmonics. Because that is the Sistra's role. We move through the crystalline waters, the lunar field, and what lies deep beneath, and allow it to rise up through the body, to the heart, to the mind, and back up. So, where we all have the ability to be what I call earthline walkers, or grid keepers, in motion, in movement, where you are a pillar for heaven on earth. And so the Alkhemia path is a pillar for heaven on earth, bringing down and we are a Sistra, we are a shaker, a mover of the field, allowing what's weighted, what's been misseen, what's been hidden, to move back up into being through us. So that's how they weave together. And the Sistra tap into the origin codes of the harmonics of those notes. And we allow the earth song to move through us. When I sing, I don't know how it's going to sound. I don't know the words. It moves through parts of my body, parts of my voice, in the way that it wants to resonate. So I'm not singing my songs, I'm singing the earth's songs. And that's what we're doing. Alkhemia is tuning the field, and the Sistra are sounding it. And the journey on February 13th with Isis, Neith, and Nephthys is an initiation into the field of the Sistra, where it'll be channeled, so what will come through will need to come through. But I know it's going to allow those who feel aligned with this path, but fear it because they remember it. They remember failing before. They remember walking it after it had already failing and still trying anyways. They remember being turned away from. They remember losing their sisters, their partners, their friends, and being persecuted. They remember their womb space, their energetics of their womb and their feminine divine body being separated from those. They remember the decay instead of the birth. So it's going to, I don't want to say absolve, but that's the word I'm hearing. Those who truly align with this path, those wounds of not walking it before. The guilt, that's what I mean. There's guilt and shame that goes with that, not just fear and grief. And now how we work with the elements, a bit differently than how alchemia is. I mentioned the mother matrix of alchemy that I released on Substack. In the first video about this, I mentioned that we were working with the 10 octaves of Walter Russell's periodic table, or spiral of elements, in their harmonic octaves in relation to each other. And if you look at Walter Russell's periodic spiral, he accounts for unidentified elements, which some have now been added in. And it's kind of not clear in some representations if it's 9 octaves or 10 octaves. It is 10 octaves, but hydrogen doesn't start until the 4th octave. He has alphanon and omeganon at the above and the below, and it is known that it loops back like a spiral. Now there's 94 natural periodic elements. At the time of Walter Russell's periodic spiral, there were 92. And because of my channeling my work with triadic harmonics, my channeling of the Divine Mother energies, including the 14th harmonic, which is the Lost Mother, I have an understanding, a perspective that varies a little bit differently on triadic harmonics than other people's. So, the one at the heart of the all is sometimes also seen as the 13th. The one at the heart of the all is not whole without the 14th, which is the bridge harmonic. It's what pulls the energy from the above and the below through the womb field back into coherence. Now, you would think that the 12 around the 1 to make the 13th might just be 12 individual energies, archetypes, orders of time is how I know them. Because there are indeed 12 orders of time. And they are arranged in triadic harmonics. So the 4 to the 3. 4 groups of 3 to make 12. So you can have the harmonics of the 12 around the 1 with branching tessellations of multiples of 12. Because they will all lead back and form triadic energies. So you could have 99, for example, 96, which is 8 times 12, around a triad, one triad, forming the 1. If that makes sense. It might not. And so I mentioned in my first video we were going to move through the octaves in a way that honored the elements that had not been identified yet. Because just because they've not been identified, just because they haven't been seen, doesn't mean they're not in the field. So the mother matrix of alchemy has 108 positions, 14 bridge positions, 7 coming from above, 7 coming from below. And then the elements are moved into triads according to, still following their atomic number, put into 36 triads, honoring the positions are the archetypes of sulfur, mercury, and salt, the tria prima in alchemy. Aligned into 12 sectors of the zodiac, which also represents archetypal behaviors and movements of the elements, in orders of time. And then they're put into the 4 universal elements of fire, earth, air, water. And then that allows them to naturally form their triads of mutable, fixed, cardinal, which have different behaviors. And when you put the spiral inside the zodiac wheel, it creates a substrate spiral, which you can read again on Substack. I'm not going to explain it all, but this shows you how there are generative fields from the above, from the below, meeting at the heart for creation. Which is sort of an intention, energetic intention, how the alchemia and Sistra path meet. And so the Sistra are working with the elements in a more relational way, a more triadic way. We're not going through the elements one by one. So during the 10 journeys, and as of right now, there's probably something else, but as of right now, I only am aware that we're working with the elements during the grid working journeys of 14 days. Each journey is 14 days. We have an above day and a below day. We start at the below. So that is working with the cistern, working with your own womb, preparing your womb, your body, your field. And then we start with the elements on the next day, beginning with Pisces. So there's 9 elements in Pisces. Pisces is the below. It is the water of creation. The deep, where the bin stone rises. And in Pisces, there are 7 ghost or bridge positions. There's Neptunium and Plutonium. which form inside uranium. But we're not only working with Pisces. So on that first day of working with the zodiac, Pisces is in the Sistra role. It is in the earthly field where it has light and weight, the origin harmonics of memory, the crystalline field of salt. But we're working with Pisces' Vedic partner. So if Pisces is in the Sistra role, it is in the earthly. It's moved through our understanding of time and seasons in the earth field. And it's moved through the collective shadow with us. And now in Vedic, which is 24 degrees behind tropical, Vedic is the stellar consciousness. They work together, not separately. So the water bearer, the one who pours into Pisces, or moves water into their vessel in order to become and nourish and sustain, is in the style position and supporting the field. So it's like an energy of cosmic light infusing and activating the Piscean waters below so they can rise clearly and coherently. And we're moving it into the field. And so we would go through all 12 zodiac twice. One in the Sistra position, one in the style position. Or pillar position. And so the mother matrix is a framework of correspondence. How the elements correspond to the zodiac, to the tria prima in alchemy, and to the modes of the zodiac as well, the movement. So all 10 journeys and the 4 Egypt journeys, so the first Egypt journey is in August of 2026 right now, although my intuition still thinks it's going to be this April, is scheduled for August 2026. And it is open now. It's available on my website. You can join the initiation on February 13th. There are 3 more Egypt trips or lunar barks moving through the back channels of the Nile, listening to what has been buried underneath and allowing it to move into the field. Then there are 10 journeys at expression and embodiment nodes of the earth, which the map of that is all laid out. The first one of the 10 starts at the lunar eclipse in August. Our second lunar bark is at the first lunar eclipse of that eclipse season in July. There's a triad of eclipses, a lunar eclipse in July 17th, 18th, a solar eclipse August 2nd, and a lunar eclipse August 17th. They won't be visible where we're going. The August first of the 10 journeys in Morocco, which are the feet and ankles. Each location represents a place on the body of the earth field. And these journeys, I know, are not the only places where the songs need to be sung. So there's a larger vision for the Sistra path. The 10 places are the places that I am aligned with to lead. And there may be more afterwards. And I see the Sistra's path as an example, as a model, as a teaching apparatus, teaching structure of allowing others to feel what it means to co-regulate with the earth, allowing others to feel what it means to meet the depths of the earth and allow her to rise through you. Not to activate her, not to clear her, but to listen to her, to feel her, to be her friend, her sister, her lover. And so there's a larger vision for the sister path that I've planted seeds for. Which would be scholarships to support those who can't afford to go on the journeys. The journeys are going to be much smaller, 14 people minimum. Some of the Egypt journeys could go up to 28. A way to create a foundation, a trust that supports others in leading journeys like this or education like this. Supporting other projects such as the Mother Matrix of Alchemy, rewritten myth, sharing the stories of forgotten lineages around the earth, and eventually supporting cultural centers and healing centers. And I don't know how I'll make that happen, but these are just seeds planting. And if you want to support the return of the Sistra, you can do that on the website, which is sistrareturn.com. The initiation is here on YouTube. You can also find it there as well as links to the Substack and all that. Oh, I almost forgot the most important part, which is there is a free group. So I was really surprised to be called to make a free community, a free school community. One, because I believe in energetic exchange for my work. But this is going to be fairly light, but also fairly involved for a free community. It's called the Cistern Circle. So one of the reasons Cistern, as far as being the reservoir of crystalline water and memory, is also an alchemy, seen as a symbol for transmutation and transduction. So the cistern shows us the processes of dissolution and heat and tension and compression that it's needed for transmutation and transduction, which is the Sistra is not as much transmutation as it is transduction. So it is pulling up the energy from the cisterns and allowing them to come in to being, which is salt, as far as the Tria Prima. It is what allows the medicine to be lived in form. It doesn't just transmute it, it allows it to become. Transmutation to me is sun or sulfur. So the Cistern Circle is a free school community. And what is going to give me energetic exchange is engagement. So for people joining and actually engaging. The purpose of the Cistern Circle is to provide a light space to help those who resonate with this return of the Sistra, a place to land, a place to reconnect with their womb, with their body, a place to lightly explore reconnecting and listening and meeting the earth and the natural rhythms of time. And I also envision it a place to connect with ancestral and soul lineages. So what I mean by that is one of the things that opened up my channel to sing was my guides connecting me with Sami yoiking. So the Sami people are an indigenous culture in the Scandinavian countries and parts of Russia, which is ancestrally or genetically part of my lineage. And it's also part of my soul's lineage that's important. But it wasn't necessarily so much as their specific songs, learning how they did it. It was hearing them and remembering. So a lot of us in the Western world feel very disconnected from our lineages. Soul lineages, so meaning lives that your soul resonates with, and ancestral lineages your body resonates with. And I envision it as a place for those who join and feel connected or have learned about different lineages, sharing those, not to teach us, but to allow us to feel them. Because we're not trying to emulate lineages that are not ours. We're trying to awaken our body's memory of how we bring them through our body and our soul. And a way to share different songs, different music, different ways of awakening. We'll have monthly moon tides, which are full moon practices guided by me. And then already in there is a free access to a replay of Sound and Soul, Sound and Song workshop, which is keys to your ancient soul songs. There is an overview of returning to the rhythm of the moon and your cycles. And then light suggested rituals for this upcoming solar eclipse. And there'll be a quarterly kind of suggested ritual moon calendar. And so, like I said, engagement is what is going to give back to me and keep this thing going. So if the Sistra path resonate with you, you're interested in the journeys or you're not, but you're interested in what the Sistra is about, what it's teaching, what it's holding, I hope to see you there. It's also listed on the website and it's completely free and it's just open, so you might be the first ones there. But if any of this video resonated with you, please go check out the Substack. It will share more about the field. It'll allow you to feel it and to remember what it needs to awaken within you. And then I hope to see you on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, which is 9 p.m. in Egypt. But I'll be here. So thanks so much for watching. This video was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but thank you for sticking around. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I hope to see you Friday.